units. Your estimated gross floor area ratio, you would convert your acres to square footage. And so 78 acres converts to 3,397,680 square feet. And you would multiply that times a 0.6 FAR, which would yield 2,038,608 square feet. Now, what's really important to understand here is that this is a theoretical maximum. And it is virtually impossible for any property to develop to the full maximum potential of its density or its intensity because of all the factors we just went through. The factors that relate to the zoning district, to the infrastructure needs, the factors that relate in particular to this property for all your proximity to the airport, your environmentally sensitive lands, and your location within a wellfield protection zone. But those are the theoretical maximum development potential numbers for this particular piece of property.
I'm more to move forward and ask that that be a PM. But what I ask is if you look at this, the map, at everything that we have made PMs, we've already increased the intensity in our city and what's going to happen here over the next 25 years and what the city is going to look like. So I'm just saying, maybe we pull back on the reins a little bit in this one area, this one little PM, where we've already increased what could happen in so many areas of the city, and that on this one, it's a simple number. So again, if we have a 12.5 acre strip of woods behind this neighborhood, and now we're going to double that to 24 acres to make it a little wider, it still doesn't change what's going to happen out on the roads when you leave your neighborhood and what the intensity is going to be there. The intensity of traffic, we already have an issue for Glades Road for the one entrance to the university. So now before we even get the funding to even think about building this second entrance, we're already going to start increasing the intensity so much that we could have a potential another problem at the unbuilt entrance. I'm saying let's just pull back the reins a little bit to 0.4. Regardless, I don't think the environmental, that's what I realized. That's why I've asked to change this to 0.4 from 0.6, and instead of moving on with my environmental concern, which would be second. Because even if you have a wider buffer,
you're still going to have
the intensity.
You're better off with the 0.4.
Ms. Haney, since who has the motion on? Ms. Scott, do you have a motion on the floor?
Yes, and I believe that as opposed to going with the additional environmental land, by lowering it to 0.4, you're going to have the environmentally sensitive land protected, the 12.5 acres. You're going to have more open space because you're going to have parking. You're going to have driveways, this type of thing. The formula is still based on the gross area, but you're lowering the amount of intensity. And when you compare what else is at 0.6 and you visualize the amount of acres that can be developed, you're still going to be considerably less than you are at 0.6. What I think it's 1.3 as compared to 2.0 something. 2,043,000 as opposed to 1.3. So that's why I believe my motion might protect all of the property more than just the environmentally sensitive.
Okay, so the motion is on the floor, and it's been seconded. All right, any further discussion?
My last point, you're trying to gain consensus here, is I would consider not making the motion of this doubling the environmental set aside if I thought I can achieve 0.4, provided I'm not doing anything illegal.
Procedurally, we have to vote on this motion first, and then if there's any other amendments, then we'll address them in just a moment. So any questions on the 0.4?
My only question before we vote, and perhaps this is a question to the city manager, that if this passes and that PM property is designated with a 0.4 intensity, and next several months the hospital does come forward with a development plan, and it's something I can't conceive, but, something that would require more intensity, could they not amend the comprehensive plan to add additional intensity based on site plan specific?
You would have to process a comp plan amendment to change the FAR from .4 to whatever
Okay.
that would be.
But it can be done.
So we have to go through the process.
But
wherever the
it is,
process
it is possible if the, I think that's the problem is we have this high level, long-term planning view without the specifics of the site. And I
Right.
think that's
That's the
what's,
dilemma.
what's the dilemma for us, and I know it's the dilemma for the residents as well, because they have no protection. They don't know what they're getting. And, so I'm going to support the .4 is a concession to, bridging the gap, because that parcel is adjacent to single-family residential, and it is a little special and more different than the other PM designated properties, and that's my position.
Okay, Mr. Malay?
Yes, and one of the things, of course, we're saying that if, for example, the hospital came along and said they needed a 4.5 for some plan that we found extremely attractive, and Amendment 4 has passed, the answer to your question is no, you can't change the comp plan. But recognizing, if I do understand, the intensity was 2.3 million square feet with .6, and what was it at .4?
At .4, it's 1.3 million, 1,300,000
Which
at
still sounds-
.4.
Anyway, once again, we're sort of running in the dark here, not being certified land planners, but I can see that we have basically a consensus here, and we can stay away from getting into other areas that are even further out without any sort of designation of what it is people would plan for. So I could support reduction of this thing from .6 to .4.
Okay, any further discussion? Going to our city attorney. Yes, ma'am?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to be clear because I don't know if the motion was clear for the record. I understood the motion to be that the FAR being changed from .6 to .4 only pertains to the bulleted portion on page LU4, which pertains to the 80-acre parcel, and I want to make sure that's clear for the record.
That is correct.
Thank you. Correct, and it also...
And
that's-
LU5.
You're not changing the density. So there's no change on the LU5. It's only on LU4, the bulleted portion on LU4, because LU5 is a
Yes.
density, and I didn't hear any motion related to that.
Yes. Yes.
LU4, right?
I think George is referring to the fact that there is a reference because it's duped, but it's actually probably an oversight of staff, right? So it's the .4 in the bullet, from .6 to .4 in the bulleted portion that relates only to the 80-acre parcel. Thank you.
Okay. Now, before we vote, which I think we're about to do on this amendment, I think that we can be assured, after much discussion tonight, that everybody up here is on the same basic page. There are lots of different roads to get to the same location, but I do believe that we certainly have the neighborhood as in our hearts, and we understand that the magnitude of what has been presented here in terms of the square footage is, far more and greater than anything that we would want to see happen there. So, with that said, would you please call the roll?
I would need to.
On the
This is on the
amendment
motion
as, the motion
to amend.
motion to
As-
amend as
as-
presented by,
Restated by the city.
I'm
attorney.
sorry.
stated by
I'm
the
just
city
going to
manager.
clarify
city
the record.
attorney.
The original motion was made by Mr. Malay?
No, that,
By whom?
no, by
Vanessa.
Ms. Scott.
Okay, I'm asking you the main
Oh, the
motion.
main
Mr.
motion
Millay.
was
Mr.
Mr.
Malay.
Malay.
The
The main motion was
motion.
Mr. Malay, and who was the seconder? Okay, so if you want to have one vote, which is I think what the council is looking for, then the motion maker and the seconder simply just accepts those three amendments and fold it into the main motion. If not, you're going to have separate votes on each amendment.
No, yes, we will fold all.
Okay, so the main motion is amended to
The
include
main
those
motion is
amendments.
amended to include the designation of from .6 to .4 on LU4.
Correct, and those other two prior discussed amendments, one was the ones that staff
plus-
introduced,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
as
Right.
well as
Two-
the language
two from
change of
George
Mr.
Brown.
I had
Brown.
al- Those
Exactly.
were already in the
And-
motion. originally.
Exactly.
Yes, and as the seconder, I
Thank you very
second
much.
that.
Okay, so Ms. Saxton, will you please call the roll?
Okay, this is on ordinance 5144 as amended. Whelchel,
Yes.
Magus,
With a great thank you, yes.
Malay,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
and Scott.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much.